have Hannah with us from Viveco. And Hannah was in the industry for 8 years, and she was a chief stew for, is that 4 of those years? The last 4.
Yeah.
And what we're doing today, it's super exciting and super interesting. Our vlog is based on how you can find a career that you're passionate about and really love the job that you're in, because I think so many of us end up doing jobs just for the paycheck and we're not that passionate about. And that unfortunately leads to great overall life dissatisfaction. Amazing when you can get up in the morning and feel excited about your work. And before doing this interview, I was actually thinking about my career the past 6 or 7 years. And I feel like I haven't worked a day in my life in terms of I've absolutely loved what I do. And it's so rewarding and so meaningful that it doesn't feel like work. And I would like for crew who are thinking about leaving the industry to also find that key or job that they absolutely adore and passionate about and could experience the same things that we were experiencing. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Hannah. You started a company called Viveco, and it's doing wonderful things in terms of creating great impact. And you can tell us more a bit about that. But I'm just so interested to hear what happened for you when you were coming to the end of your industry, and how did you realize that this was a particular area that you wanted to focus on?
I think when you are in yachting, you're so in that world, and it's so all encompassing that it's sometimes quite difficult to imagine coming out of it. But then as you get on in your career, and there were just loads of little things for me at the end of yachting. There were little, when I look back now, that we were in the Galapagos, and there was so much amazing wildlife, but still you could see plastic everywhere. And these little things happen to us with our guests. And I think in some interviews I've done before, you read about, we used to fill up the rubbish fridge and all that kind of stuff. And these things started to kind of have quite an impact on me. And then when I left yachting, it became even more kind of something that I started thinking more and more about. I'd always known when I left yachting that I wanted to have my own business. And so it was just kind of these little things that happened that you put them all together, and I started thinking, well, how can I try and make a difference, and how can I make that kind of work for me as well? So I think it's about identifying the things that really make you passionate and that you really, really care about, and then trying to figure out how you can make that something that you can do in your everyday life after yachting.
And I think it also has a lot to do with your outlook. So if you're quite pessimistic on board saying, I hate my job, this is just awful, I'm so miserable, then you're not going to see those opportunities. So I think you just demonstrated that it's so important to be open-minded and just to be self-aware as well.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a little bit of context about your business, so your vision and your mission for your business, so we understand what you're talking about?
So Viveco aims to provide sustainable alternatives to single-use plastics. So basically anything that you have on board or in your everyday life, there is probably an alternative out there. So we try and help crews find the best alternative. There's not always just one. And because yachting is such a unique environment, there are different things that can work on board different boats, depending whether you're charter, you're private, where you are in the world, all those kind of things. And so my kind of take on it is that because I was in yachting, I kind of know the situation, so I can help people find the best alternative quicker than if they try out 20 different things and they don't work for them. So that's kind of how my yachting career and now this career kind of link in together. But yeah, I think what you're saying about not being pessimistic in the job, I think quite a lot of people towards the end of their yachting career get quite over it almost. Like, you've had an amazing time and an amazing life and done amazing things, but people want to move back to land and want to be able to have more of a normal life. And it's really important to kind of remember the good things about being in yachting while you're in it still, that you have, you know, expendable income to maybe spend on some training or to, you know, just kind of really think about what you want to do before you leave, I think and not get, you know, use that as a positive. You think, I'm done with this amazing career, but now what can I do next? And try and, you know, not get stuck in that I just want to get out kind of feeling.
100%. So what was that defining moment for you when you were like, okay, I'm ready to leave and start my own business?
I tried to leave yachting. I think everyone tries to leave maybe once or twice before they actually do. But both times, well, I'd gone home once and thought, you know, maybe I'm done. But I'd never had another plan. And I think that's always the really difficult thing, is you've lived such an exclusive kind of life and such an amazing life, and then to go back to land and then be like, well, what am I going to do now? Go and work in an office? It kind of doesn't do it for you anymore, if that's, you know, you've lived that other life. And so that, when I left, I was just like, what do I do? And that's when I went back, and then that's really when I was like, I need to think of something else for when I leave, because otherwise it's gonna, you know, I'm just gonna be always in this situation. And it's, people don't really, businesses on land, and you'll know from talking to your friends and stuff, people don't really understand what you do on a yacht. So they don't understand the kind of skill sets that you've got and what you've been doing. You know, everyone just thinks you've been lying on the beach drinking a cocktail for, you know, 8 years, and even on your CV it's really difficult to get across what it is that you've been doing.
Yeah, and I think like that was the thing for me when I decided to exit. I was like, I need to actually study further, because I was highly, well, I have to say, I wasn't confident that someone would employ me based on my yachting experience. That's what helped me got me into my next, I guess, career pathway. So
Yeah.
yeah, just thinking ahead is so important, and starting a business. Yeah, okay, we spoke about this the other day, but it isn't easy, and you do have to be prepared, and you don't realize how much work it actually involves. But then at the same time, yachting can prepare you for that. So
Yeah.
I think expanding your skill set whilst working on board is so crucial and imperative. So doing what you can
Yeah.
with free time, I highly recommend cruise business.
Yeah, especially if I think from, was a stewardess, so that's my kind of take on it. But if you find something that you really love doing within that, like whether it's the event planning or whether it's the accounts, if you're doing the purser side of things, or, you know, maybe it's, you've got an interest in food, you find that one thing that you really love about the job that you're in, if that's what you want, if there is something there, and then try and do something to get maybe like a qualification that's recognized in the world through that, but you can do it when you're still working on board. So you're using all the, you know, the great bits that you've got around you, and the free time, and the fact that you're not paying rent or for food, and you can use that money to get something that is then useful to you to do that when you leave as well.
Exactly. So just having a nest egg.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long has your business been running for?
I actually started Viveco a year ago. So I left yachting 4 years ago, and I did have a baby in between, and I did work for an event company a little bit in the middle, but at the back of my mind the whole time was starting this business. And it just took me quite a little bit of time to kind of actually do it, rather than just have an idea.
Okay, so what does it feel like now to be a year in and you're doing it, and we're talking to you in India while you're looking?
Yeah, it's funny actually, when I was preparing to talk to you today, it was a bit like, I thought it's a really interesting kind of question, because when you're in it and you're doing it, you get quite wrapped up in the, oh, I need to be doing this. And we were just talking a little bit before about, you've got to wear lots of different hats and do lots of different, you know, you're always kind of in it. But when it's quite nice to actually sit back and go, oh wow, I've come from that to here in a year. So sometimes you do have to go, oh yeah, I've achieved that, and it feels actually really good, and not just be thinking, oh, I need to be doing this and this and this. And so yeah, it's a crazy feeling, but a good feeling. Yeah,
it is a good feeling, and I think you're right. It's all about celebrating the wins too, no matter how big or small they are. It's just giving yourself a pat on the back and going, yes, I've done it, which is great.
Yeah.
And what would you say what would be your biggest challenge so far with regards to starting a business?
I've said this before to someone, that I think if I knew before I started Viveco all the things I didn't know, I probably wouldn't have done it. So it's kind of like, there are elements of when it's just you running your own business or starting something from scratch. There are things that you find easy and are good at, and then there are the other bits that you maybe find more difficult or more challenging, and having to kind of do those and get your head around those. So to wear all those different hats and be this one person, that's I think the thing that I found really challenging. And working on your own as well. you know, when you're on a yacht, you're surrounded by people and you've got people to bounce ideas off and do this and that. And then suddenly, if you start your own business, most people can't employ anyone for quite a long time. And that becomes, you know, you have to talk to yourself and answer your own questions and kind of set your own deadlines we were just talking about. So I think they're the things that I found most challenging.
And then going back to purpose, like how did you mentioned earlier about noticing the pollution whilst working on board and the wastage, and that was a pain point for you to do something about it. But what is your business why? Why is this so important to you, and why did you start this rather than something else?
I started it for all of those little reasons, that when I first started yachting, you know, it really wasn't something that was in my consciousness. I'd always recycled and I thought I was quite eco-conscious. And then I think the whole world has seen a shift in this over the last few years, and everybody is much more conscious of it. And for me, the real why was when I started trying to reduce my own waste at home as well. And I really saw loads of parallels that would be great for yachting, that you need to store less things, you create less waste, and also that in yachting you're at the forefront of living on this amazing environment and taking all the benefits from it, and everyone in yachting is in a position to make a lot of changes. So for me, that was really, I was like, why are people not doing it? And it needs to be done. And you know, I realized that I built up quite a lot of knowledge that could probably help people. So that's just fitting all those little bits together, and you go, oh yes, this is, you know, this works, and this is what I'm good at, and I've found this niche that is what I want to do.
Yeah, amazing. And I love what you're doing. I
Thank you.
believe in it, and I think that, well, I hope it does really kick off in the industry, and I hope that crew support it because it's so worth supporting. On that note, I'd love to know what your hopes and dreams are for Viveco.
I've been totally overwhelmed by the response from yacht crew, really, because I started Viveco as a small online shop in the Balearics, and then it was slowly just through friends of friends and people who still worked in the industry that were interested, and the yachts contact me and ask me for, you know, help and advice. So that's been totally overwhelming for me and makes me realize that people are so open to change. So I think for the future for Viveco, I really hope that I want this to not be a trend and not be, you know, something that people are doing because of Blue Planet and David Attenborough. I want people to, and yachts especially, to make changes and then stick to them, but not to go, this season we'll buy bamboo toothbrushes because everyone's talking about it, and then next season, you know, slip back into old habits. So I don't know if that's a hope for Viveco. It's a kind of hope for society that people make these changes and they become the norm, and people realize that they're doing them for the right reasons, not for just because it's, you know, what everyone's talking about now. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, well, yeah, let's hopefully we can all stand together and promote lasting change. I think it takes like a movement for that to happen. It doesn't happen in isolation, so it's about supporting each other with this vision. So where do we find you? Like your Instagram handle, are you on Facebook?
Yes, we are on Instagram. It's Viveco Yachts, is our yacht specific Instagram feed, which I started mainly because there's too many differences between home environments and yachts that I decided to separate the two businesses. And on our website, viveco.co, there is a yacht catalogue available on there as well if people want to go and check that out, or just drop me an email.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Hannah, for your time. That was amazing. Yeah, and just learning so much about how important it is about finding your purpose. And I don't think you can actually run a business if you don't know your why and what your purpose is, because then you're setting yourself up for failure. You put some effort into it, and if you're not motivated and you don't love what you do, it's very hard to be successful at the end of the day.
Yeah, very much. And I think it's really important. It doesn't matter what your passion is, you know, it can be skateboards or, you know, sunglasses, or as long as it's something that you really genuinely are passionate about, that's the most important thing, because otherwise it's not going to work, I think.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.